On this thermal printing video, I'm going to start out showing you the result before getting into the hows and what all's involved with this. So on the iPad here, what I'm doing is I'm connecting from my iPad through my wireless back to the database that's being served off of my computer. So what I want to do is just, I'm at the blast jobs, and I know this screen is hard to see. It's hard to see because the lighting and all that, and that's fine. But I'm on the blast bring in screen, and I'm just going to select a test job I put in here. And what I'm doing is I'm saying I work in blast. I want to bring the products in, and what I'm going to do is I'm not going to add boxes and do all that. I'm just going to say, okay, that started the traveler, and now I'm going to complete the traveler. So when I click complete the traveler, it's going to go through all the stuff setting up the data, and it's going to give us our new thermal printed travelers, which will go with the jobs. So you can see here that we've got the American Tactical. It's got the part numbers at the top. I don't know if you can see those very well. We'll do some screenshots of these. But we've got the purchase order number, the profit key, the work order, cart ID, the barcode. It'll auto input the recipe for that part, place for the initials. Then we have the other stuff that I was asked to add later. I'm not even sure what all these items are. Then your receive date, your due date, which has the day and the month. This was the best design to set this up where we used the least amount of paper, and it made the most amount of sense. So that's how we set that up. What I want to do now is just switch over to, say, rack. So that was blast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show a cage job. So something that went directly from being received to going to the cage. No, going from the cage to rack. In other words, it doesn't go through blast. So I'm just going to select this job here. And I'm going to say complete the traveler. That is PT 0000084. And you can see here that I've got my traveler for that job. So far we've done 96 parts. It's not added up to anything. It was the first 96 out of a total of 288. So everything the same. So those are our production travelers. Now real quick, I want to just move on again. I'm showing you just some results. So I'm going to go to the management screen, and I'm going to go to adjustments by coaches, and I'm going to select this one test job here I've been working with because I've got a couple of the parts moved throughout the system. So on the screen here I have receiving travelers, production travelers, tray travelers, and an orphan. So what I want to do is show you if I wanted just one tray traveler to reprint, I would just click the button and I get my one tray traveler. If I wanted to print all the tray travelers, there's 3 of them on this job, and I know it may be hard to see on this screen. I just click the button to reprint all of them, and I get all 3. So now we've got all 3. The cutter on this is already not that well. I read some things on how to adjust the cutter, sharpen the cutter. I'm not going to deal with that right now. But there's my 3 travelers reprinted with no problem. Now let's look at production travelers for this job. So if I just want to reprint one production traveler, looks like I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them in here for this job. I just want to select that last one, saying that, hey, I need to reprint that production traveler. Well, there's the production traveler for this Adams Arms job. Well, what if I wanted to reprint all the travelers, production travelers with that job? I could select the print all button, and now I'm going to get all 6. And there are my 6. There's 3, there's 3. I got my 6 travelers to go with that job. So Now here's the thing, with the Tray Travelers, I printed it on a thermal, but the idea was that we're going to print them on sticky labels. So I had done some samples by taking this stock of sticky labels that do not go to this printer. I had to feed them in backwards. They go to a Brother style, and I bought these because we're still waiting for the 810W to come in. And I fed them through there backwards, and it was printing the sticky labels. It did not cut them very well, but it printed out the same label, and now I would have a sticky label to put wherever you guys are going to affix them on the jobs. So did do labels. They do come out with a version of this same machine called the SK version, which is the sticky label version. So I'm not sure if we're going to be in the Brother side of it or go with this same type of machine and use the sticky label version, this label version. One thing I don't like about it is they look exactly the same, so it would probably be easy to get them confused that a sticky label one got put where a thermal label should be, so on and so forth. And I don't know what their sticky supplies look like. I was trying to order them, and that was not exactly easy. So anyway, start off the video. That's the result. I've been doing this for a couple of days now, and it's never failed. This is working wirelessly, as you can see from the iPad. You know, it's on my Wi-Fi network, and it's on my wired network. And we're going to talk about the setup here in a second. Okay, let's go over this printer. So we ordered this 654II or 654-2, and you can see here that it says Star TSP 650II. On the bottom of the unit, let's see if we can flip this over without breaking anything. On the bottom of the unit, it also says TSP 650. But then over here, it says 654II. So I guess they're going by 650 class and then a specific model number. Now, in this model, and they come with all different options, but one of the things you're going to notice is this connector here. So we ordered ones with the Airprint, which is Apple's print technology. Ones with the Bluetooth connectivity, and they're different on their connectors on the back. On the back here, you don't have all of these with the two USB ports, the network jack. This is a USB port, that's a USB port, that's its power, and then there's a Cat 5, Cat 6 cable, RJ45 connector. This is a phone port for like a cash drawer if you're running it in a point of sale system. So this one has this block on it, not a flat base with a button to push to do the Bluetooth and the Airprint and all that. But this is the model that we needed because it comes with the Airprint. If you notice, connected into the USB port is this funny looking item, and it's called let's see if we can get it to focus here. It's called a TP-Link. So the TP-Link is what provides the wireless connection. That's a range extender, but we have to have the cable plugged in. So yes, my iPad and other devices are talking to this printer via the network Wi-Fi, but you can't unplug the cable. So wherever you put one of these printers to get your Wi-Fi working, you still have to have it on a cable, and it comes with that TP-Link adapter that has to work with it. Let's look at the paper and a couple of things we learned with this. Now, what we did was we went to Staples and we bought the 3 1/8 by 230 4-pack. So that 4-pack was about, I think it was $34 for the 4-pack, and also bought some of these smaller 2-inch rolls. So we've worked with both types of rolls. The weird thing is this only came in yellow, and at first I was like, the yellow is weird, but I like it a lot. After working with it, honestly, I really like the yellow. You can order it in yellow and white. That's just all they had when I had to go up there and get it. Now here's the thing, when loading the paper, one thing I like about this printer versus some other printers that we worked with was a different printer mechanism. So some came with these, like Brother always has this complicated kind of carriage setup. It's always with these plastic parts that just don't do well. So we didn't like that with some of the other printers we worked with, is they were specific to these plastic parts. What we like about this one is, as long as it's a roll of a certain width, it doesn't matter what the core is or how it's set up, it'll go in the printer. Now, to use a smaller roll in this printer, you have to use this adapter plate. Now, this is back to cheap, flimsy plastic. From swapping in and out, we have already broken this little tab. And the problem with that is then the machine stops sensing what size roll is in there. On top of it, the programming is highly complicated because outside of a full roll, on a full roll, I could do the programming with justification to left, center, or right. With a partial roll, every single line has to be coded to start exactly where this left margin is. So that's a little bit of a programming. I don't like that. It's just so much work for so little payoff. So I really like these larger. They fit the actual size. If we look inside of here, you know, it's just nothing to mess with. I like a clean setup. So very easy to just load it in there, just kind of drop and go. You don't even have to be gentle with it. You just put it in there. Yeah, I'll roll it back a little bit. Don't want to waste too much. Close the lid, and it's ready to go. That's it. So we like that. So 3-inch also for design purposes seems to work really well if we look at the design. So I like the design of this Traveler as well. You have more space to work with across the margins that you don't have with a 2-inch. 2-inch is just too small. It just cuts out so much space that you have to work with. It also made it easier to work with doing the smaller labels because we could work our 3-inch going from here to here. We don't have to turn the orientation like this to get it to print on the smaller one and print out correctly. You just stay with a straight up orientation, and everything just works out well. So you just go down your line and create your image file that you're going to print. So you need to understand that about the paper. We highly recommend staying with a 3-inch design on paper usage versus the smaller, and keeping away from using these adapter plates, because even if you're swapping them in and out, it's probably going to get lost. It's definitely going to get broken. Here, the piece just finally fell off. It's just so flimsy. Don't recommend that at all. So that's where we're at with that paper. You know, when we're on the paper cost, this paper was $34 for the 4 rolls. So that comes out to about 4 cents per foot. So when you look at 4 cents per foot, this Traveler is 9 inches. So it has a cost of 3 cents. So what is that in relation to 8.5 by 11 copy paper or printed paper? That paper comes in at about, gosh, I don't even know, less than a penny per page. But your consumables, your ink and stuff, is where you get into the page. So typically on a printer or a copier, your cost per page is 2.5 cents to 3.5 cents per page. When we're printing the Travelers, we're doing half. So we're only at like a penny to a penny and a half. You know, and these are at 3 cents a page. So 0.03 cents a page. Not really a lot of savings. When I added it up based on the around about 50,000 or so that are printed per year at Greystone, saving about $1,000 doing it this way. You know, I think the savings are so small, it's just mental gymnastics to go, oh, what do we do with this because of savings? It really puts it back to, let's just get the right device to do the right job. I do like that these are smaller. You don't have all that paper running around the manufacturing facility. 8.5 by 11, even cut in half the statement is just unnecessary when all your info is presented here the way you need it. There's no need to overkill it. I just think much more manageable. It's easier to store this paper if you want to buy it in bulk. One thing I really like about it too, it's less susceptible to moisture because this is thermal treated paper as opposed to your copy paper. So, you know, when you think about like jams, printer mess ups, blah, 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 just easier, overall easier setup to work with, easier to maintain, buy the supplies, keep them in stock, and also keep them ready to use. So just overall a better setup all the way around. Another topic to cover when looking at our test scenarios and deciding what we would recommend, you know, one recommendation over another. This one, very, very important. So we did try printers that had Airprint, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi without cloud print, all these different options. So here were some of the issues with using Bluetooth and Airprint. So we are using iPads, so they're going to want to either use Airprint or Bluetooth to a device to work wirelessly. Those are the two items that seem easy to do. The problem comes in with how the manufacturer of a printer handles the print data. Star Manufacturing does offer Bluetooth enabled and Airprint capable printers, and they say that it's native, but what we found out is not really native. So one of the things it's doing is you can talk to the device directly. Your iPad will immediately see it on a network or through Bluetooth and talk to it. But what happens is in the print translation, when we're going from the one print language to the Star print language, what they do is they've jumped through creating an actual translator in there to doing essentially creating what's called a raster image, a very low kind of quick copy of the image of what you want to print, and then sending that to the printer. What happens is we end up with what you see on the left, which is a very low quality raster data version of the printed file. So we can't get maximum quality out of the printer. When you're looking at barcodes and they're all dithered or bitmapped in this scenario, because that's what a raster image is, it's a bitmap image, those could become unscannable. So we didn't really like the quality at all through those setups. When you look on the right hand side, now that's your hyperlanguage markup where we're doing all the coding and sending that code directly to the printer. So that's what we're going to talk about now, is how the coding works, because it does present some, well, I would say limitations, or what we're going to be able to or not be able to do moving forward in a design setup. Let's have a discussion on how we're making this possible, because it does present some issues where people at Greystone may ask for something, what's involved with it, how long will it take. So I'm going to try not to get too technical, but just quickly walk you through the process. First, in the design setup, I have to design something to fit within the margins, and I do it in FileMaker, which is known as an object-oriented system. That means that I can work with boxes that I can move around on the screen. I can take any element and move it as an image. So a box, a picture, all of that stuff can just move around and we can place it, and it seems very easy and very quick. And that's all fine and well. When we get into programming to talk to these printers, we're going to step from object to line code. So we've got to talk in hyper markup language to begin with. So the first thing we do is we design what we kind of want the layout to be. Then I have to actually sit in line code how all that will work in XML. And this is what the line code looks like for the 9-inch travelers that we've been looking at. So it's all in very just not really any simple English to work with. There's very few things. Now I've done some color coding and number references to help me kind of understand where I'm at with that. So once I've developed that, I then have to go back into FileMaker and plug that code in to be able to test to see if it'll even work, if we get the right kind of output. So once we're getting the right kind of output, now we have to take it and we have to say, well, okay, that's fine, I can get a print, but I need to be able to say, if you're printing this record, I need this record's data, I need this due date, I need this customer. So the system has to understand how to swap that out and still print the right data. So now all these code points in XML have to be broken down. So in the 9-inch, we're broken down to 25 parts. And these parts are not equal to how the traveler is set up. So if we look at the traveler, part 1 is not the customer name. I mean, it may be, but it may not be. The issue I have there is that when I'm working with these parts, I'm limited in each section that I can build from to 255 characters as a set point. And what happens is, if the code to print this customer name is more than 255 characters, I have to put it into 2 separate container boxes to then have the system put them back together to generate the entire code. So it's not as simple as, hey, I want to change, I don't want the name to be here, I want it to be down there. Well, I'll just take code section 1 and move it to, code section 19, because that's where it'll put it. That's not how that works. So 3 or 4 of these down here may equal 1 item that we're showing on the screen. Why do I bring this up? Because the amount of time it takes to do this, test it, come up with the XML code, put the code in, test that you're getting the right stuff, correct them, and get an output. This was 16 hours. Nearly 16 straight hours of doing that. So, and that wasn't the first run. I mean, we've been at this for days. So I'm thinking that on average, when we go to do one of these, if I have to build it from scratch, build any image file from scratch, if it's up to like that, what we're doing with the travelers, that's a 10+ hour event just to build a new one. So if somebody says, well, I want this to be here or that to be there, basically going to have to break it down and start all over. So that's how that'll work. Now the smaller ones are way easier. Not as many lines, not as many reference points. Got that down to 3 to 5 hours, depending on some of what we're trying to do with it. But there's a little bit of length and complexity in there. So what the system's doing is it's taking this XML code, transferring it up to the cloud, to the printer space. The printer space is taking that, translating it into its printer language, and then sending it to the printer. So when we're telling an iPad, hey, print this, we no longer have to worry about a preview in a PDF type setup or something like that to then rasterize and send it to the printer. We're now telling the printer exactly directly what we want it to do. So while there are 2 points of translation, they're pretty pure to one another. So it's fast and precise. So we like that a lot. Some of those changes, same thing as Go. If we don't like something on the left, we want it on the right, and so on and so forth. Not easy to do. Again, in this symbology, we're going to have to go back and adjust every line from 1 point forward or the whole thing to make everything line back up again. So that is how the setup is working. So far in our tests, it's just been consistent. Haven't had a point of failure whatsoever.